Welcome back to OneNation, sponsored by TonyBet with the beautiful Adam Jenkins, Jenko, my guy. Yo, I like that we had back-to-back sessions. Right. You know, I think 2, but whatever. Either way, I've been seeing you a lot. We've been in the booth, and guess what? We get to talk about the thing we love the most. And that is the CPL. But look, as a formally retired, I can only use that for maybe like a year more. After then, it's like I've passed the statute of limitation.
If you ask League 2 Ontario, you're not retired.
The performance I played this past Friday, I was retired. I digress. The players, we always talk about their fitness going into this last 10, 11 games. How are you feeling, buddy? The voice of the CPL, you've covered over half the games ever of all time. How's your voice, how's your body feeling going into this last little stretch?
We got 10 rounds left, which is wild.
Exciting, but wild.
I think I was maybe not quite hitting a wall, but I went away to Alberta, spent 5 days working holiday.
You're home away from home.
My home away from home up in the mountains.
Talk to me.
And came back, and we had a back-to-back on Saturday, which as you're learning now as a broadcaster, can be a little taxing on the vocal cords. So I came in on Sunday, match of the week, and I'm thinking, okay, just one more, we get a little break after the fact. And then I remembered that it was Pups at the Pitch night in Winnipeg, and that was all I needed. So
that's it.
Every CPL club can just allow dogs.
Yes.
For every game, I will be 1,000 times more energetic.
I'm cool with one match a year for each club. That's okay with me. Beautiful to see, though, in Val. What a game that York United and Valor at Prince Otto Stadium. But this is that time, right? This is where things heat up. This is where you're looking at a playoff spot. You got to get into that position. But there's a lot we got to get into in the show.
There's a ton, and we're very excited about it. And we're going to frame it this way, and that is by playing overreaction or appropriate reaction.
Nice.
Where we give you a statement.
I overreact a lot.
I'm going to ask the question to you first. You're going to answer. I will answer. You ask the next question. It's going to be like table tennis.
Ping pong.
Ping pong? You're a ping pong guy?
Whatever. Table tennis. Sure.
All right. Let's get into it with maybe the best bit of sound from match week 18 in the Canadian Premier League. And look, it goes without saying what the issue is on Vancouver Island right now. And it's the fact that they are just not scoring goals. So much so that we were 3-4 weeks ago saying that James Merriman doesn't even have to say anything new in his press conference. He can just sit there and play an audio recording of what he had said last week. We've got some sound from it. And it's like, let's just show you what he said. Listen in, and you can clearly see the frustration on the Pacific Gaffer's face.
Win ugly or continue to play the way that we want to play. The decision to go to goal that you need to make at a certain moment in certain areas of the field, decisions to take 2v1s, to create situations, to drive to goal, that's a decision we need to make. And okay, if we set back on a counterattack and win ugly by driving balls in the box, we still need desire, we still need intensity in front of goal to score the goal, to be ready. And we don't have that right now. So whichever way we want to change the tactical situation, we need players in the higher areas to be more aggressive and to go to goal. And us as a team, collectively, it's not enough. You know, it's not enough. It's my job as the manager, for sure, to demand more in terms of the intensity, to drive forward, to go forward. But I can promise you, we're saying it day in, day out, to go forward, to attack, to look to be dangerous and put ourselves in a situation, be alive in front of goal. And we're not doing it. We say it at halftime, we start the second half, we're not doing it. So we need to look at the players that we have. We need to continue to demand more from ourselves. The only way I see is continue to work. You know, nobody's playing us off this field. Not one game we're getting played off the field other than the Valor match at home, which is a big disappointing loss for us. But you can go back across the games. We're not getting played off the field. We're making clear decisions not to go to goal. It's not enough from us.
James Merriman, famous for his very calm demeanor. That was the devil on his shoulder that said, you know what, enough's enough, and it's time to make a statement. And
yeah, that's frustration just oozing out of him.
That's months of frustration. Like
I would even argue and say a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But go ahead.
No, it's just where they're at right now. Some of the stats, Jordan, 14 goals in 7 games. This is the one that really drives supporters in Pacific crazy. Only 6 from open play. 6 goals in 14 matches from open play this season. You can understand why he's frustrated. So the question I pose, and I will remind you, that back in 2019, the Halifax Wanderers have owned an unfortunate CPL record for the fewest goals scored in a season on 21 goals. So appropriate reaction or overreaction, Pacific will set a new CPL record for the fewest goals scored in a season.
I'm an optimist. by
You are an
nature.
optimist.
Like, that is who I am. I believe that Pacific have to find something to go and score 7 more goals and beat that 21 number. With their squad, James Merriman just said it. It's not the way that they're playing. Maybe in the 60 yards, it's the last 40. It's the way you're getting into the danger area where it's just been lacking. But something has to change within the squad. Also seeing him and that sound and that presser, that I know something will change within that squad. Whether that's a player coming in, whether that's a player on the bench, whether that's players leaving or being benched and not in the squad, something has to give, because that lackluster effort going forward, it has to change. A Pacific team that has done so much in past years to play a certain style, to play that way, and to not make the playoffs, cool, but at least go around kicking and screaming. At least go trying to play games, not scoring goals, and your top scorer has 3 goals scored from a penalty, from the penalty spot. 3 goals from the penalty spot. Like, this has to be dissected. As much as I want to say that it doesn't look good right now, I have to believe that it has to change. They have to go down swinging. They're not, if they end up going this way, they're finishing 8th.
Yeah.
And not even close. They're just capitulating and really tanking. I have to think that is someone, that Josh Hurds, whether it be Adonijah Reed, like players that have stepped up before for this team, and maybe someone else that we haven't mentioned, just coming and being the best version of themselves. They have to get it done. But right now, if you were to ask me,
Which I'm doing.
I would say that it is not an overreaction. Like, that is fair to say that they don't score. They haven't scored in so long. They haven't played well in so long in the attacking end. So I would say yes, but I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers for James Merriman and staff and Pacific that they turn things around soon.
This is where I will once again remind people that I don't know anything, but, and that's always key, is but, it's underlined, it's highlighted. The secondary transfer window for external transfers in the Canadian Premier League has closed. But until the 13th of September, where the CPL master roster freeze takes in, you could see some interclub moves. So, for example, and again, I don't know anything, but it's curious when you have clubs like Vancouver, who have been vocal that maybe they're not perfectly satisfied with their group.
Mending
relationships, but resting players the same day Pacific resting players. It's like the NHL little trade deadline frenzy. September 13th is the day we all have to keep in mind. That's when the rosters are set for the playoffs. So if James Merriman decides, you know what, this isn't enough and we need some external help, or to shake it up, they can do it up until that day.
I wonder too, the last thing I have to say, I'm going to land my plane, is if a player to come in, let's say they brought in a number 9, which I think they need, right? And I think they've needed for 2 years. And speaking of James Merriman yesterday, I really felt for him, because as a player, seeing your coach or seeing a coach speak like that, angry tears are about to come. Not like I'm sad, angry tears. When you're frustrated and you get angry, like he was on the brink of that. If he kept talking, I felt like they were going to come. And you look at your team and you invest so much in them and say to do these things, and then they're still not doing it or it's not happening. You're looking around like where to go. If one player comes into the squad, is that player going to be go and score 5, 6, 7 goals in the next 10 games that they need to do? Like, they still have to play better as a squad. So yes, that would help, and maybe that would change a bit of the complexion going forward. But you still need your day oneers, or the people that James Merriman and staff have invested in, to show up, because one player can't go and do all that. But I do agree that they might need some fresh blood.
So staying internally then, if you're a player on that team, obviously, I don't think anytime a coach takes to the podium, they're saying something that the players haven't heard before.
Yeah.
And we saw, especially after the Valor match, which he specifically called out before he sort of dove into the problems, we saw them on the pitch, and they sort of aired that out publicly. How is, rant might be harsh, but a series of comments like that are impassioned, how does that land with the locker room?
You can only do so much. I think with James Merriman a few weeks ago, he's probably at the position, we've gone through this in training, we're still not making these runs, we're still not going forward. And I mentioned on match night on Sunday that what is our identity going forward? I've always known, and it's always been evident to anyone who watches Pacific, how they like to play. With the players that they select, players that they bring in, the defenders that they bring in, you could see that they want to keep the ball and play a certain type of football. Cool. But how are they going forward? I think it comes to a point where you can only really throw a chair as a manager one time throughout a year. You start seeing that 2-3 times, it comes into a toxic environment. So I look at James Merriman. He is on the near cry that I saw, and it's okay to cry, but the frustrated cry. That for me is like he's at his wit's end. He's been saying the same thing over and over, and it's just not penetrating. It's a square peg into a round hole. And for me, in the locker room, I think you're looking at the leaders, and you even heard TMG's comments as well, Thomas Meyer-Jaguar, is that if it's falling on deaf ears, that you almost start to look internally and figure out, hey, I'm going to do things on my own, which is the opposite of a team sport. So I say all that to say is that a long time ago, these players had to figure it out. And if they haven't, then he has to go elsewhere with his selection.
And I think that's key because Mayor Jaguar is saying it too. It's not just that the coach is putting the squad on blast. Your captain, one of your captains with Josh Hurt is putting the players on blast. And look, I know that it doesn't feel like it right now, but I really struggle to believe that this side is not going to score 8 goals in their final 10 games. They're in and around that 1 per game. They don't want to miss the playoffs more than anyone else, I think, right now. Maybe other than Ottawa, who I think have a lot more of a cushion and a lot more of space there. But Pacific have always been the club that are like, hey, what about us? Like, don't forget about us on Vancouver Island. If the players care, and I know that they care, it's time for 1 or 2 or 3 of them to start showing it, because the problem is right there for them, Jordan.
Yes.
And the onus is on them to do it. So I'd say overreaction. They're not going to set the record.
I like it.
Where are we going next?
I am going to a place that you love.
It's true.
Calgary.
Calgary, Alberta.
But a team that we can all respect in Cavalry FC.
That's right.
Is it an appropriate reaction or overreaction that Cavalry is firmly back in the running for the CPL Shield? They're doing back-to-back?
Firmly back in the running, appropriate reaction every day. I think truly, and I'm not, it is so crazy the top 4 right now that it could be any of the 4.
It's going to fluctuate.
I said it with you on the broadcast last week on the call. I think you're delusional if you think that they're not in the running. I think they can win it. I think they'll probably win it. I'm not going to say that they will win it because it's too chaotic right now, but yeah, absolutely they're firmly back in the running. This is a team that's getting healthier. Ali Musi has a point to prove. Dan Klomp is scoring goals again. Marco Carducci coming off goalkeeper of the month. Mile Henry, we shared the stat on the broadcast where every time he's started for Cavalry, I think they've won the game.
And he's added to that.
And he just did it again, so he's not going to be the only difference maker. I love Lowell Wright. I love that signing. I think give him some more minutes. They're going to be the team that they know how to do it. I don't think that if they win, it's going to be nearly, or whoever wins is going to be nearly as big as it was last year. This is a year that is probably a 2 or 3 point margin. Like, decision day is going to matter this year, and we're super excited about it. I just think with them being back to full fitness, Camargo, if he can get fully in, and who knows, maybe they want to go do some shopping within the league as well to strengthen it. I think they have to be considered a favorite right now for sure. Appropriate reaction.
You said probably going to win it, and you're basing that as
I'm saying appropriate reaction. They are in the race.
Yes,
I think they'll probably win it.
Woo. So with the Atletico Ottawa, with a York United, and with a Forge FC, you feel strongest about Cavalry FC. Yeah? And which is fine. I mean, this side, look, I always feel like they're one attacking player away from going on and making a run. It's not going to be a 13-point lead like last season, which I'm totally fine with. It doesn't need to be. But of course you have to put them. I've never really doubted them to be in that playoff race. To be at the top, obviously it took them these past performances, these past 3, to really get them back and really feeling confident. And even asking Dan Klomp when we did the match together this past weekend and seeing the look on his face, I think there's something different when you had such a successful season as last year and you have the same players that you're looking at and the same manager, same situation nearly, and you're like, we can do this. Because I think what happens in a title race, 10 games, is so many people are talking about all these things going on. It's really just internal. It's about the players on the pitch, the players at training, the environment that you've created. And they know what it takes when push comes to shove and there's a game that you got to win. So I get that they're in the top. They're probably going to take it all. There's some teams that I might put above them. But the question was, is Cavalry firmly back in the running for the CPL Shield? And I'll say absolutely. That is not an overreaction. That is appropriate reaction, 1,000%.
The context I will add to this, York's in uncharted territory now.
Okay.
They're the heir apparent. Good for them. They deserve to be where they are. Nobody wants to play York right now, but they have to do it for the first time.
Yes.
There's no pressure on Cavalry right now.
True.
Forge have been dreadful away from home. As great as they've been, they have been impossible to beat at Tim Hortons Field. They've been so inconsistent away, and they are going to be so focused on CanChamp in just a couple of weeks.
It's a big month.
Especially if they beat TFC and go to the final, everything will be for that match. So
it's a big month.
Everyone's, I don't think, sleeping on Cavalry. I don't think you can sleep on Cavalry, but I think they had the least amount of pressure with the highest upside here, and they have Ali Musi back, and he is scoring, he's setting guys up for fun. Do you think he's the player in the CPL that has the biggest impact when he's not there? Most indispensable?
Yeah, I think so. I think also, too, Camargo as well. Not in the same way as Musi, but it is that 1-2 punch for me. Just also when they link up, they
well, they
tend
were
to
both fit last year, and look what happened.
They tend to both creep over to that right side and try to create and make things happen. I think also the stuff that Camargo does, the movement that he does is next to none. There aren't many players in the league that does what he does, fully fit. So yeah, if they can get him back, keep Musi fit. Like even in training, Musi's that has that quarterback. He has that red on.
Yeah.
Don't touch him. Like he is on that quarterback. I'm looking at him. I love tackling. I'm not touching Musi if I'm playing for Cavalry. Just let him be, finish out the season, and make sure he's scoring. And then also just telling signs. The way he came off the pitch against Halifax Wanderers, having a great game, and we're looking at him, and we know that he was influential in all that he did, which is so disappointing because he didn't score. He's trying to make up for lost time. It's also balancing his mind, right, about just get to the dance. Get to where you need to be. I know you want to score every week. I know you want to set up every week, but just get your team, get those 3 points because that's what's really the most important.
Absolutely.
This is a nice one we're about to talk about because
This is one where we get in trouble.
not really. I mean, the life I've lived, I've been in trouble with my whole life. True. So I'm okay. I'm okay being in the doghouse a little
Hit me
bit.
then.
Appropriate reaction or overreaction? Atletico Ottawa is suffering a repeat of the 2023 meltdown. And you literally cover all the games. It was 6 games where they lost last season at the end?
Yeah.
Six.
So here's where I struggle with this.
Ooh.
What is the definition of 2023 meltdown?
Okay, I will say this.
Are you asking me if they're going to miss the playoffs?
Yes. You know what? Let's make it more pointed. Right now, where they are with 10 games left, are Atletico Ottawa capitulating? Are they going down, finishing 6th, 7th, or 8th? Are they missing the playoffs?
There's two. So if the question is appropriate reaction, overreaction, are they missing the playoffs?
Yeah.
I think it's an overreaction.
Okay.
To say right now that they are. If the question is, are they suffering a repeat of the meltdown? The answer is absolutely yes.
Because would you describe 5th as a meltdown?
I would describe an inability to do the things that make your team great, and what that we have seen them do in the same season. That's a meltdown.
You know what? Because
Jordan. Listen.
Quickly. Hold on. It's quick. Context. Last season with Pacific FC being in first place for 2 months and then finishing 4th. I considered it a bit of a meltdown because they did all the hard work to be in that spot, and then they just fell. It's okay finishing 2nd, maybe even 3rd, but 4th. And not being able to score, that was a meltdown. Sorry, go ahead.
Listen to this. Last 3 games, York, Forge, and Cavalry. You know what the combined score has been? 9-2.
I've heard it.
That's a meltdown.
Times.
That's a meltdown.
Something's going on.
When you are the league leaders and you do that consistently, that's a meltdown. Now, can they get back? Absolutely they can. Look at that team. There's a reason why Cavalry was the triumphant heir apparent. Everyone's saying they're going to repeat, they're going to cruise to the finish line, and then you go, oh, they got Amir Didic. Oh, they got Manny Aparicio. Oh, this team on paper, Balou Tabla's back. This team on paper should be excellent. So the fact that and it's not just the results, it's how you live by the sword and die by the sword. How many of those games early in the season were miraculous stoppage time wins? Like it was the Cardiac Kids was this group. And nothing has really changed there personnel-wise. Ollie Bassett looked dejected. This was not match week 18, but 17 in the post-match press conference. His refrain was, this team is too talented for the season to get away from us. And then the performance they had to follow that up was not very good. So I think they're having a meltdown right now. I think that's an appropriate reaction, but it's on them, and they're more than capable of stopping this stall. Put the nose down, throttle up, keep going, fly away. What do you think?
I think it's an overreaction to say that it's going to be a full-blown meltdown because I just think there are too many personalities in this group in this team that have proven themselves in the CPL, some from year one, that you look at and you're like, no way. Even playing against some of these players in 2021, 2022, you're like, some days you don't need to get a win. You just buy a tie and keep it moving. But then you know that if you're playing well enough, at some point you're going to get these 3 points and be in the dance. And I can't help but think that they're going to be there at the end, but being there might be a 4th place. But I don't think that suits them. I think the best place to be is between that 1 and 2. They have to really fight for that.
Take.
They need to, though. There has to be. What I mean by that is based off what they've done. Like, if you make that nosedive and go to 4th or 5th, you're going to playoffs and you're going to be shaky based on last season, based on the season before. The reason why in 2022, they had a philosophy and they died by it and maybe fell short because they played Forge in that final, who are just a big game team. But they were consistent. And that's what I mean. Like, I think if they dip and finish 4th or 5th, when it comes to a must-win game in playoffs and you're playing 4 or 5, it favors the other team. You have to go back and try to get those standards. And right now, you need to do it before it becomes too late because York seems like they're heating up. Forge, are going to get points on the bounce. Like Cavs, they only have, this season to worry about. It's not like Forge where you have can champs and whatnot. They're going to pick up points as well. So with this Atletico Ottawa, it's not now or never, but it definitely seems like the time they need to get things sorted.
I think the biggest concern for them is the longer this goes, the more that pressure mounts. And
yes,
you don't
that's what I was trying to say.
Do it now. Come out and spank someone in the next week or two. Like 3-1, 4-2. Like, just put on a performance that says, this is why you should all be afraid of us. And they're capable of it. It's just, until they do it, that weight is just going to grow and grow and grow.
Look at that.
Which is the opposite feeling to York United right now, who are cruising. We got some personality from Mo Babuli after the match against Valor. He was smiling. He's having a good time.
You're shocked, eh?
It's
funny because that's a Mo I know, but maybe the media doesn't know.
And it's because he doesn't let us see, because he wants to win so damn bad. And now, Jordan, they're winning. He wants to win so damn bad, and they're winning. They're top of the table at the end of a match week for the first time. Now, we're taping the show today. Forge plays tomorrow and could take that away from them. But for right now, and at the end of the match week, they are first. Overreaction or appropriate reaction that they are in pole position to win the CPL Shield?
I still think it's an overreaction. I know people are going to say, this is your old club, you just retired and you played there 2 years ago. How can you not think that they're contention to be a first place and win the Shield? The reason why I say that is because York has always, I know that Benjamin Moore has done a great job, only lost 1 match and has played 10? Yeah, I think 9 or 10 matches he's been in charge.
Yeah.
I think it favors them being a contention for playoffs for sure in the bag, but that second place team. And then if you overachieve and win the league, so be it. But to say that this is theirs, I understand people are like, look at this team, the confidence that they have, the way that they're playing, which I'm all for. But I still think you got to go 2 times and play your Cavs. Mm-hmm. You got to go and get results against them. You have to play Forge twice. They've had your number, 2 3-0 losses, slapped you in can champs as well. I understand I wasn't under Benjamin Moore, and this looks like a different team. But a game, that's going to be a big game feel. Yeah. And that is something new to York United. I back them. Look, as much as I want to be neutral, there are players in this team that I've cried with, not really cried, but battled with, that I want to see them do well, for sure. And I'm the biggest advocate of just the Canadian stories taking off. And I think York winning the league is a huge story. Finally, the talent that's in this area, I think, gets rewarded. And it's quick. It's something that the Pasquale brothers probably thought would happen in 2 to 3 years, and happen in the first season would be electric. I just still think they have to show up in big moments. Still have to play Ottawa as well, which is maybe their bogey team in some respects.
Well, and especially if Ottawa's backed into a corner like we just discussed.
Exactly. So there's moments they got to step up. I think it favors them that they're not favorites, in my opinion. I think that number 2 or the second best team, because I don't count out Forge. I know they got to play a big game against Toronto FC, but they've had their number when they play York, and they just seem to get it done when they need to get it done.
It's just going to be fascinating to see, if Brian Red can keep this up. He's a runaway MVP if he doesn't slow down. He's been brilliant. Mo is at his very best, his magical best. As we saw on Sunday, they got the goalkeeper. That back three.
Which I have to shout out
plug in
KJ
place.
quickly.
Yeah.
I said the player that you're most excited to see or the biggest one coming into the season, and he said Vincenzini for York, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like goalkeepers, that's a functional position. Yeah. But I see what he's saying. When you see the way that he set up that goal, and that he owns his line, it comes out as sweeper keeper.
Stopped a
yeah, he's ahead of the curve, man. He's ahead of the curve.
They're a great team. It's now what has made them so good this year and what's been their MO in years past is nobody believes in us. We should be the first, but we're just not, but we should be the first. Now they're there. Yeah. They have to keep it. That pressure is really, really hard when you have a lot of people chasing you down. So I think it's overreaction to say they're in pole position, but I would not want to play them right now, and we're going to find out Friday. I cannot wait for Friday, and I'm not calling the game, so I'm going to enjoy it with a beer.
Look at that. Come watch it with me.
Yeah, let's do it.
No, seriously.
Okay.
I think I'm going. And we're going to, you know what? We're going.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm going, shout out to Max Ferrari, a little sweet boy. He's probably the only person outside of you that you're just like, man, if someone touched them when you're out, I'm elbowing them. Don't touch Max. He's playing his 100th match, so I'm definitely out in York Lions Stadium just to go see. And I don't really watch him play.
Come find Jordan and I.
We'll be there.
And we'll
bring us a beer. I don't really drink. Bring Adam a beer.
We were just talking, and we're not going to get into the Guinness conversation.
You don't want to talk about drinks?
Not on air.
We don't have time. Got it.
That's after the fact. National team is where we're going to finish the show today, Jordan. Crazy that it seems like we have to return to Concacaf after France and the Netherlands and Argentina and Uruguay again. But we're back in Concacaf September 7th and September 10th, which is what? 2.5, 3 weeks away, like ridiculously close when that window opens. How are you feeling about seeing them against the U.S. again and Mexico? The brethren of CONCACAF and the yardstick games, where do they measure up with this turning of a new leaf, starting a new chapter, the momentum from Copa America, that finished the best of the three, and now they get to see them go head to head? What are you thinking about this?
I like our chances. I also like the fact that in such a short time, you can't really say with this team that they're not battle tested, which has been like you play Argentina twice, like you play France, like you play the Netherlands, like you play in a big tournament. And losing pens in the semis, and I could live with that. But in terms of big pressure moments, they've had to manage that. And then I think also too, when you have those moments and you lose, and there's a bit of like a bitter taste, but then you also know that you've done well and can play and compete. Then when you play the U.S. or you play Mexico, you're like, yo, we can run these guys. We could play against these guys. We could do it. And I also like the dynamic between Jesse Marsch being there at that time, because now there's someone that you've been in such a pressured environment, but he was there. You had a longer trip. Look, I'll say with Copas, even when we had the show as well, and we were watching it, and we had Vamos, you're like, we're going to be invested for a little bit. And there's Euros, and I watch Copas strictly. Yeah. Like I dabbled with Euros, but I've never been invested the way I was invested in this Copa. And it's a great tournament, great teams to play. But having Canada in that mix, now I just think that confidence and that determination that they receive from those matches should bleed into these matches against the Americans and against the Mexicans, and I'm all ready for it. I'm so ready.
And it needs to turn into hardware with Nations League and Gold Cup. Canada, like that's the next evolution for this program. But you go and you don't go pesky underdog little brother. Yeah. It's like, no, Canada's puffing their chest and you're expecting them to be in that final and to push. With this set of friendlies, I think one of you call back to Vamos, some fond memories. It was always, in the lead up to that tournament, Copa America, was how much does Jesse Marsch experiment?
Yes.
Some do a little bit with a goalkeeper and captain's armbands and trying different things. But now that there's less on the line in terms of a tournament where you have to get points to progress, would you be content to see him bring in some new call-ins, maybe try and captize some people if he decides that's what he wants to do? Or are you saying, no, as we just discussed, this is Mexico and the USA, and it's time for us to come in swinging and make a statement?
Cap tie, I'm like, you could. I think with a manager, you can maybe do it with 1 or 2 max. New players coming into a group, because it really does affect how that group is at that time. If you bring in 5 players that are different, look, that's a good quarter of your squad, or it really changed the dynamic. So you have to be careful. I think also too, when you even play, it's the same thing. It's like maybe bring in 1 gem. You could take someone like Jacob Schaffelberg. If you put in a bunch of players and played him, he wouldn't have had the same impact that he did this tournament. So I know Jesse Marsch knows that. He doesn't need me to say it, but just from me looking from the outside looking in, you know 1 or 2 max. That's all you can do.
Last question. European football gets underway again. Which Canadian are you watching with the most interest?
Ooh, look, obviously the big dogs are there, but Liam Miller, I think this has to be his time. I think his stunt with the Copa and how he stepped up, but then Preston North End, then going to Hull and actually like signing and playing with a good championship. I think that's like his level where he could be at and really make an impact. Coming off a season where he had 35 appearances, I think that's great. That's momentum. If you're playing well for your national team, you're playing well for your club team, that just screams success.
I'm going to watch an unbelievable amount of Marseille matches this year.
Yeah.
Give me Marseille, Lille.
French connection, baby.
I guess we'll see you on Friday at York Stadium. I'm going to the game. I have no choice.